really consciously aware of it. Year 7 student, he was the star of my form group's assembly play, and he changed so that his behaviour started to sit very much outside of the expectations of a normal mainstream. He spent some time in a pupil referral unit, and then there was one final quite extreme incident and he was gone. How could I have done something differently or been more involved in supporting him?
In England today, our most vulnerable learners are falling out of the school system. For the last 3 years, year on year, we've seen rising exclusion from school. These most vulnerable children are very likely to have learning needs and maybe also mental health needs. If you're excluded, you have a 1.5% chance of getting an English or Maths GCSE pass. These children deserve the best in education, but at the moment their demographics often predict their destiny. At any one time, 1 in 200 children is in a school for excluded pupils. In the prison population, those who are excluded from school is 1 in 2. We need to change this story.
I ended up where I am today because of the background of where I've come from. Quite deprived in terms of crime, in people being in and out of prison, different troubles that I didn't get into. And I was always interested in that, in terms of why has my life come out so different? I don't like that this is happening, let me see if I can do something. And if you are passionate and you want to progress your career, this is a space where you can do that and impact kids who really need it. Hussein, assistant head teacher.
The Difference programme is a 2-year training programme for leaders to develop new specialist skills. We want more fantastic teachers to choose to work with the most vulnerable children and to develop a new evidence base of what works with those learners. We recruit teachers who are experienced in the classroom with some leadership experience into their first senior leadership post. That's a 2-year placement in a school for excluded pupils, where our leader, the Difference leader, is tasked with school improvement priorities focused on teaching and learning in their first year, and then on safeguarding and well-being in their second year. Over those 2 years, they are supported intensively by the Difference curriculum team to lead whole school improvement. The 2-year programme accredits our leaders with a national professional qualification in senior leadership. At the end of the 2-year Difference Leaders programme, many of our leaders will return to mainstream schools in senior leadership positions. There, they'll be able to use their expertise and the knowledge they've gained over the 2-year course to work across the staff team and help reduce exclusion from school.
You can make a massive, massive difference working with children with SEMH needs. The kids are hilarious, they're fun, they're clever, they're witty. You know, I think people have an image of what kids in a Peru are going to be like. Gangster and have their hoods up and actually they're really vulnerable at times. They're kids and they're young kids, and actually a lot of the time they're emotionally really young. Having a brilliant staff team who are really committed, know exactly where they're going and are having fun doing it. I don't think in a job I've ever laughed as much as I laugh from my leadership team here. Amy Portier, Executive Vice Principal at Springwell, Lincolnshire.
We need more Peru leadership skills in mainstreams because there's a real problem with the system at the moment and there's some real challenges in the system. What we've got is a lot of kids who are spilling out of mainstream schools. We need to understand their needs, and actually we need to understand how best to meet their needs. So what we need is the leaders to be able to come from the Peru settings back into mainstream schools to really get to grips with behaviour policy, with understanding behaviour, with the pastoral care, with working with families. And I think you can only get that with some experience of working in a pupil referral unit or a specialist setting of some sort.
7 years of teaching in mainstream schools. I was a successful head of department. I found myself increasingly interested in the students who were struggling to engage at school at risk of exclusion. I needed to find a new direction, and I went to become a teacher in a pupil referral unit to see the difficulties that those young people had been through on their journey through mainstream school to come to that pupil referral unit. I was really motivated to leave and go back to mainstream school to see what sort of difference I could make. My head teacher hired me because I had a wealth of experience and understanding about vulnerable children and the support that they needed, the systems that I helped to introduce reduced exclusions significantly.